Hello, welcome to the Innovation Talk series by Infosys Finickle. Today, we are joined by RBL Bank, one of the most innovative banks based out of India. And it gives me immense pleasure to invite and introduce Mr. Sankarshan Banerjee, Chief Information Officer at RBL Bank. Welcome, Mr. Sankarshan. Congratulations once again for being recognized at the Infosys Finickle Innovation Awards this year.
It is always an honor to receive the honors from an award from Finickle because I compete with so many other banks, and it's always a great pleasure to see that our efforts are being recognized across the board. And this is a global competition because Infosys has participants from all across the globe for these awards. So it's a great honor.
Let me start this discussion by requesting you to tell us about your bank and about yourself for our audience.
So RBL Bank, it's an old bank. This is our 76th year of operation, but about a decade ago, we started on this digital transformation journey to become a very successful and very fast-growing digital bank. Today, we are a challenger bank to the big banks in India. We're about 500 branches, 1,400 business correspondents. But we are also very substantially present in the digital space. We have a lot of business partnerships with the fintechs of the world. We do a lot of digital transactions on a daily basis, and we are one of the preferred banks for digital in India. And we are hoping to keep going along this journey and become one of the bigger banks as part of our digital transformation and growth. So I've been in RBL Bank for about 3.5 years. I've done a fair amount of different things before this. I was with a few services companies before this, Accenture, IBM, Mphasis. And I've also been on this side of the table. I've been a CIO for India Infoline, for National Stock Exchange. I've done a few startups as well, two or three stints at e-commerce and telecom companies. And so I have a fair amount of moving around, and it's been fun. But it also has exposed me to a lot of different ideas and concepts that I bring to each job. So I'm hoping to transform banking from a relatively straight-laced closed box into a more open box, especially with digital, with ideas from outside, from e-commerce, from stock exchanges.
Thank you, Mr. Sankarshan. That is inspiring to hear from you. Let me now go back to asking few relevant questions on the topic. Tell us, how do you see the banking in India shaping up right now?
Banks are having a very interesting time at the moment in India. India has gone through a very large revolution of digital payments. In fact, with the various initiatives by the government, by private players, we have become one of the most digitally friendly economies, banking economies in the world. We are the largest in terms of digital transactions by far. We are roughly 40% more than China in terms of number of transactions per year. And its adoption across the level. I went on one of these long cycle rides through remote parts of India, and pretty much everywhere they would accept UPI payments. You bought tea in the middle of nowhere and he would have a UPI payment card. So so this has become a very widespread and very deep phenomenon in India, and therefore banks have changed quite a bit to address this. I think at least in India, the future of banking is heavily digital. It will be far less led by branches and far more led by your digital channels. Mobile channels, chat channels, voice channels, that kind of thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sankarshan. That is really insightful. Let me proceed with my next question. What do you see some of the business challenges and opportunities for banks in India in 2022?
Banks are having to redefine themselves in terms of how they do transactions, but also in offerings. Digital has enabled things that we never thought possible. And therefore we are having to rethink what we do and what we have traditionally done. Instant loans have started becoming the order of the day. because digitally speaking, it is possible now to do credit underwriting in seconds, as opposed to our traditional method of giving loans, which involved a few days of underwriting decisions. And it has therefore changed the kinds of loans we give. Therefore, we give much smaller loans far more frequently. And that opportunity is opened up. Now we are coming to the point where we say we'll give you instant loans for every purchase. So pay later, for instance. This is a big emerging trend. These are trends that banks are having to grapple with. They challenge their original business model, the bank's original business model. Another sea of change is coming if central bank does indeed introduce cryptocurrency as CBDC, central bank cryptocurrency, digital currency. That will cause another change in how banks operate, quite a seismic change. And we'll have to see what opportunities open up there and which bank takes what kind of advantage of it.
That's really good to hear, Mr. Sankarshan. I think hearing from you, it will apply to all sets of banks and segment of banks globally as well. Continuing with my question, I would like to ask you, what do you see some of the emerging business models in 2022 for banks in India and globally?
Globally, if you follow the trends, one of the ways to look at emerging models is to see where both funding activity and mergers and acquisitions are happening. Banks have been doing the same thing for a very long time. But banks, what we should look at is who is buying what. And today we see a huge amount of buying happening in buy now, pay later. And really big deals are happening in that space. So that's sure to become a big thing. And that's a trend that's going to accelerate. Other people are betting on it. The environment seems to be ripe for it. And there are, of course, consumers that demand it. So that's definitely something that's going to become a lot bigger. Now, the earlier method of buy now, pay later was credit cards. So therefore, there will be a transformation in how credit cards respond to it. And lots of banks, including RBL Bank, has built a very large credit card portfolio itself. And transformation of that and having to deal with buy now, pay later, which customers are suitable for what box, those are questions that will become quite pressing in the short term. And credit cards and buy now, pay later are both very large business lines that existing banks have. The second trend that we're seeing increasingly is AI-based products. Digital underwriting, instant loans, workplace loans, pricing of products instantly, promotion of products, then linkages of products. If you're depending on your credit card spend, if I can give you a housing loan, that you're seeing a lot of. Now there are some headwinds also there. There are new privacy concerns that we have to deal with. There are concerns about the quality of the analysis that we can do or we are doing. Is it prone to bias? Is it prone to unexpected failures? Those things, but will still, I think, keep accelerating. Using artificial intelligence and machine learning to uncover new opportunities and uncover new linkages that enrich our products and increase our customer penetration. That's going to be a big trend, and it's going to be a big investment area in the future. The third big piece, I think, is central bank digital currencies. I think that, of course, there is some time before it gets introduced. But once it gets introduced, what is possible will become quite large. Now, I don't have an easy way of predicting what are those individual opportunities, but I do feel that CBDC will open up a field of opportunity, and therefore the banks that are the smartest and fastest moving will end up benefiting a lot from opportunities that today we cannot visualize.
Thank you very much for that wonderful response. I think it opens up a lot of ideas for the bankers and as well as solution providers like us. Mr. Sankarshan, let me now specifically ask with respect to RBL Bank. What are the top 3 strategic initiatives for your bank in 2022? And if I can continue, how are you gearing up from a technology perspective to empower those initiatives?
RBL Bank for 2022 is focusing on 2 major lines. One is building better foundations. We are growing quite fast. When you start growing fast, you start at the edges. You start, you improve your customer interfaces. You start dealing with many more customers and many more transactions than you used to. And then at some point you have to take a pause and rebuild the foundation for the much larger user base that you have, so that you have a much stronger foundation and therefore can build much bigger buildings. That's the stage where we are at. We've been very successful with growth for the last 4 or 5 years. Now we are taking a pause and saying we'll rebuild our internal engine, consolidate. So we'll build our internal engines to withstand the next round of 40-50% growth. And so we are in the process of upgrading most of our systems to the most current generation. We're putting in large investments into taking our existing applications to cloud, our existing infrastructure we are modernizing, and we have announced a whole range of projects in that field. The second thing we're doing, you can't stop growing while you do all this. So the second thing we're doing is focusing on digital growth. We just announced a partnership with Google to do a new generation of digital acquisition and cross-sell using technologies that we did not have access to a few years ago. And therefore, we are able to do more things with them. We are able to roll them out in different ways. And most importantly, we are able to access a series of digital-friendly customers, digital natives, people who've been born with an iPad in their hands. That kind of customer is where we are hoping to target. And also, we are even the traditional customer, we are hoping to enrich his experience much more. And we realize that actually age or access has very little to do with digital literacy. We had 70-year-olds who are digital experts, and we had 25-year-olds who would prefer visiting a branch. And we have all kinds of people in between, and we've also realized that the digital universe is larger than we originally envisaged. Originally, digital universe meant internet access. Today, people approach the internet in various ways. Some people are Instagrammers. They don't touch the internet in any other way. Some people are Facebook. Some people are WhatsApp. And they're all quite different behavior-wise. It's all owned by the same company, but they're all different behavior patterns. And therefore, we are also trying to expand ourselves into all these channels. Like Instagram is a distinctly different channel from chat. And today we don't quite know how to do it, but that's going to be our 2022 model, to try and build a digital bank that addresses an Instagrammer or is friendly to an Instagrammer, or is friendly to a WhatsApper, or is friendly to somebody who just does mail. And that's going to be our 2022 challenge. These are the two things. We are redoing our foundations to be 10x, 20x our volumes, and focusing particularly on acquiring this new generation of digital customers.
That was good to know, Mr. Sankarshan. Now, tell us about some of the successes that you had in 2021.
So 2021 was coping up with growth. It turns out the pandemic was very good for digital transactions. We did not anticipate it. In 2020, we thought our transaction volumes would go down. So we started, focusing on how to conserve money, how to conserve business. But around the July time frame, we thought, we made a mistake. It's going the other way. And by November, December of 2021, the trend was clearly the other way. And November, December 2020, the trend was clearly the other way. So all of 2021, we were digital growth. How do you handle digital growth? How do you keep up with digital growth? And how do you target the digital growth towards you and not lose market share? So that was our main thing in 2021. And we rolled out a few very successful initiatives. Also, foundationally, we rolled out some very successful initiatives. We were one of the first banks to do a proper cloud DR. On-premise application, DR on cloud. And we were one of the first banks to do that in a full-scale way, like a large number of our applications. Most of our applications, in fact, are cloud DR, except where technologically sometimes it is not possible. So that was a big initiative, so that we have, as digital transactions pile up, things do fail, and therefore we have the cloud to fall back on. Because on-premise, also the pandemic made it very hard to order on-premise hardware. There's a chip shortage going on. There are shortages of supply chain shortages going on. Things don't get delivered on time. And so that was part of the drive towards moving to cloud. If you wanted a server, wouldn't get it on demand like we used to. Another big initiative we did was digital interfaces. We cleaned up all our interfaces. We made them far more compliant to privacy rules. Privacy in the last 1.5 years and fraud related to privacy has become a big concern. So we upgraded most of our front-end interfaces to be far more privacy centric. And these were large changes. They were not like comma full stop changes. And so that was a big initiative in 2021.
That's really good to know. Fantastic. Finally, Mr. Sankarshan, tell us about the partnership with Infosys Finickle and what has been your specific experiences.
We've had a very long partnership with Finickle. Finickle has been our co-bank ever since we started modernizing. The 75-year-old bank did not have any core banking. So Finickle was the first core banking that the bank invested in. And it has stuck to Finickle and grown quite a bit. It's grown almost 100-fold since then. It's a deep partnership. We do interact a lot with Finickle. We do unusual, interesting things with Finickle. And it goes a little bit both ways. We also put a lot of feedback into Finicle's new products, which in turn benefits us when the products do get matured. We think this partnership will grow still further. I mean, I don't see us at the moment contemplating getting out of Finickle into something else. Our aim in life, in fact, is to go further into Finickle and tighten the partnership and move some of our existing concerns, things that the bank used to do but was struggling to do, to Finickle, to say, you are better placed to do it, can you help us do it? And so, for instance, a couple of years ago, we moved some of our monitoring to Finickle, Finisher. Now we've started talking about how we can move some of our transaction management to Finickle. Again, some of this will be long term and things like that. Then we've started doing, we did this last year, we did something called, that's the award, right? The kitchen. It's our data, your code. So that you get better testing results, we get easier understanding of whether our particular setup will work or not with every upgrade. And these are things that we think we will keep doing. It has been a great partnership primarily because Finickle also has agreed to partner with us. People have to be receptive to partnerships as well. Partnerships are a two-way thing. Banks have to be receptive to the vendor telling them how to do banking. And vendors have to be receptive to banks telling them how to do technology. And it has worked very well so far because we have this trusted relationship. So if Finickle comes and tells us, don't do banking this way, this particular workflow is inefficient, we tend to listen. And vice versa. We tell them, this is causing problems for us, this particular architecture construct is not scaling up or is not good for digital platforms. Finickle tends to listen. That's why it's worked very well, and we think it'll work. I mean, we think this relationship will continue for a while.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sankarshan, for the insightful discussion. I'm sure this is going to help our audience to gather a lot more insights from the way the banking in India and globally shaping up, and what are the challenges and opportunities that are in front of them.
Sure.
To our audience, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us today. We would request you to go through all other Innovation Talk series videos which is available in Infosys Finickle social channels. Thank you very much.